All right, good afternoon.
Hi.
Had a little technical difficulties, little technical things to take care of. So, are you ready to get deep in the Course in Miracles today?
Yes.
Are you ready to have some peace?
Yes.
Well, it's funny, the section that came up today for me to talk about, tested 1, 2, the section that came up today for me to talk about is there are 4 obstacles to peace according to the Course. And we're going to start with the first one, which is on page 407 in the text. And the first obstacle to peace is the desire to get rid of it.
Wow.
The first obstacle to peace is the desire to get rid of it. The first obstacle to peace is our willingness to get rid of it about anything. The parking space missing, coming home with the wrong order, whatever. He said the first obstacle we have is our desire to get rid of it. So it says the first obstacle that peace must flow across is your desire to get rid of it. Because the first thing to remember about peace is that peace cannot extend unless you keep it. You can't give people the peace you don't have, and you can't give people the love you don't have. So we under the mistaken belief that a person in conflict can give somebody peace, that a person that's full of fear is somebody who can give somebody love. You see what I mean? So the Course is saying that peace cannot extend unless you keep it, because you are the center from which peace radiates outwards to call other people in. So you are the center of your peace. You are the center of your peace, and then from tapping into the center of your peace, then you actually call others in to join that peace with you. And so you are the home of peace. You are the home of peace, the Course says. You are the tranquil dwelling place from which peace gently reaches out, but it never leaves you. So the peace in you reaches out to the people around you, but you never lose your peace. So you keep your peace while you give it to everybody else. You keep your joy while you give it to everybody else. And it says, if you would make your peace homeless, if you would get rid of your peace, then the Course says, well, how can it abide within you if you're getting rid of it? How can your peace and happiness live inside of you if you are getting rid of it? So if you want your peace to spread, if you want to be a peace virus, if you want your peace to spread across the whole of creation, number one is, he's saying, it's got to begin with you. My happiness has to begin with me. My joy has to begin with me. So my first responsibility, if I'm going to give any kind of happiness or love to anybody else, is to what? Allow myself to be happy, allow myself to have joy, allow myself to have the love. So if you come in here, and in a sense right now, what you're focusing on the most is your peace, that is the best place to start. So that at the point that you achieve your peace by removing the blocks to it, then at that point would you be able to share it with somebody else. At that point would you start calling other people in. And the Course in Miracles says peace means total fulfillment. So when it says you want peace, you're not saying I want to sit in the cave and contemplate my navel. You're saying I want to experience complete fulfillment on every level within myself. That's peace. Everybody clear about that? So when I say I want the peace of God, I'm saying I want the total fulfillment of God. And then the Course says God is love. So that's the same as saying I want the total fulfillment of love. I want the peace of God. I want the total fulfillment of love. That's the correct interpretation. I do. I want the total fulfillment of love. Anybody else want the total fulfillment of love? Yes. I do too. So it's got to begin with you, whatever you want. Then he says, then it must from you reach to everybody who calls, and then you bring them rest by joining with you. I'm so cool, I'm so peaceful, I'm so loving that when someone joins me, they immediately relax. See, have you been around people like that? No matter what you're going through, the minute you connect with them, you go, okay, that's someone who's really radiating peace, and they're bringing you rest by joining you. So that was the first paragraph. So what did the first paragraph say? Well, what did it tell me? Well, the first thing it told me was that the first block to me having a peaceful day is my desire to get rid of my peace about anything that happens. And then the next thing that it told me was that I got to keep the peace that I want to give. I got to keep the joy I want to give. I got to keep the freedom that I want to give. And then it tells me that when you are in the process of being a means for someone else to feel happy, then the happiness never leaves you. So I'm happy too. Not only are you happy, I'm happy. It's not you're happy and I'm not happy. It's you are happy and I'm happy. If it's coming from something that's real, then you never leave it yourself. You keep it yourself, even though other people are benefiting from it. You never lose it. So I can't lose my peace to give you peace. I can't sacrifice my joy so that you can be happy. Because at the point that I'm sacrificing my joy, I'm not extending to you any happiness. So I'm not being selfish by making sure that my happiness comes first. That's the prerequisite for me to be able to be a means for anyone else experiencing joy through me. So it's actually more unselfish when you let yourself be joyful and happy, because then you have something to give than someone that's always sacrificing themselves and never letting themselves be happy because they think they need to make somebody else happy. That's just a person that's full of resentment. And that's what they're sharing, but they may not be aware of it. All right. Any questions, any comments about that first paragraph? Yes.
You just turned everything upside down that I was taught and I employed as being a mother.
Yep.
And how do you feel about that?
I'm not sure I've gotten to my reaction of that yet. I'm just amazed.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Course in Miracles says, that it's the reversal of your perception.
Yeah.
That it's exactly the opposite to the way that we've been taught.
Yep.
And that's why it might work.
That's the ultimate.
That's why it might actually be correct. And there's a line in the Course where it says, you know, the world is the exact opposite of everything that's true. So, you know, the world teaches just the opposite of everything that's true. So sometimes I'll play with that. And I'll go, if it looks like my mind is in my body, then that must mean my body is in my mind. If it looks like the outer is controlling my reality, then the truth must be I'm the one that's controlling or creating it from within myself. You know, it's like whatever the world teaches, the truth is just the opposite of that. If the world teaches it's all about loving one person, then the truth would say it's all about loving everyone.
Yes.
The world is going to always say it's just the opposite, because what we're looking at is the result of the way the world thinks. We're seeing it every day. So it's no way we can keep thinking the same way and think we're going to get a different result. But what's really great about it is you can do it yourself, and it doesn't depend on anybody else doing it or agreeing with you. So I can practice this whether anybody else does it or not, and I can also receive the results of it, which I think is a great deal. I think it's wonderful. That I can apply the truth at any time to my life and get the result, rather than trying to get anybody else to do it.
Yes.
Okay. So the next paragraph says, well, why do you want to make peace homeless? I love that. Because you just see peace on the corner. It'll give you joy for no attack. Joy for no attack. It says sometimes the Course is such a great book as far as pictures are concerned. It says, why would you want peace homeless? What do you think that peace must dispossess to dwell with you? In other words, what is it that I think that I'm clinging on to that's more important than my own peace? What is it that I'm clinging to that's more important than the truth? It's like I act like the truth is something that's asking me, the truth is asking me to give up something. I act like the truth is asking me to sacrifice something. He says, what seems to be the cost you are so unwilling to pay? What's the cost that you are not willing to pay in order to have your peace? He says, the little barrier of sin still stands between you and your brother. Would you reinforce the barrier of sin, which is the desire to attack? Or would you reinforce that desire to attack now? You're not asked to let your desire to attack go for yourself alone. Don't let go of your desire to attack just for your own good. Christ, which is your real self, the real self asks it of you for itself. See, your real self, the Course says, is the self that would bring peace to everyone. But how could your real self bring peace to everyone except through you?
Yes.
If your real self is going to do something, it's got to do it through you. So the Course says, would you let a little bank of sand, would you let a little wall of dust, would you let a little tiny seeming barrier stand between your brothers and sisters and your peace? and yet this little remnant of attack that you cherish still against your brother, the other person, that little remnant of attack you cherish still, it says is your first obstacle. The peace in you encounters in its going forward. So the peace inside of me is trying to go forth. What keeps the peace inside of me from going forth? There's still some little desire I have to attack. What's keeping my peace from going forth? There's still somebody I'm angry at. There's still something I'm mad about. There's still something that I want to attack. And it says that's the first obstacle that your peace encounters and is going forward. And the Course calls it a little hatred wall.
Right.
I like that. Now here's my peace trying to get through my little hatred wall.
Yeah.
Because the little wall of hatred.
Yes.
Right? And so the Course says that little wall of hatred would still oppose the will of God and keep the will of God limited. In other words, the will of God is that I have peace and joy and happiness. My grievance is still keeping me from allowing myself to feel the peace that I deserve to feel right now. Everybody got that?
Yes.
I say I need to radiate this peace in order for me to be happy. What is it that's keeping me from radiating this peace in order for me to be happy? I still have a little remnant of the desire to attack someone else or myself. So a lot of times people stop wanting to attack other people, but they just attack and judge and criticize and condemn themselves all day. And then they think somehow that means they're not attacking anymore because they're not attacking another person.
Right.
But they all day long they're putting themselves down.
Yep.
That's still a little remnant of attack. So that is what keeps the will of God limited. People go, well, what is it that keeps all this good stuff I keep hearing that the Course says that I'm supposed to be experiencing from the universe? And then the Course in Miracles says, let me tell you what it is. It's a little remnant of attack that you still cherish right now. It's a little wall of hatred that's keeping the love from getting through. Oh, thank you very much. I thought it was the way my mother treated me last night. I thought it was what my boss said to me yesterday. I thought it was that argument I had with my kid before I came over here. No, what's keeping you from experiencing the peace of God that you really want to experience right now, that total fulfillment, is you have a remnant of attack inside of you, a judgment inside of you, a grievance inside of you, and it's blocking your peace from going forth and calling others in. So therefore I would even call others to me who would bring me more peace through my peace. Any questions? Any comments? Any thoughts about that paragraph? Everybody pretty clear what it is that's blocking you from knowing that total fulfillment that the book is talking about?
Yeah, that wall of hatred.
That wall of hatred, that old hatred wall.
Yeah.
It's bigger than the wall of China.
So how do we get rid of the hatred?
Yeah. Knock it out of the park.
The first step is recognizing clearly the obstacle to peace.
Yes.
See, we don't realize that the awareness that it's attack that's blocking your peace
Yeah.
will actually lead you, when you really hear that, to stop attacking. And when you stop attacking, and guess how you stop attacking? You decide to.
Yes.
Isn't that a freaking trip?
Yes.
You know when you think about, how do I stop attacking? Stop.
There you go.
Stop.
Yes.
You getting ready to cuss me out? Don't. You
Yes.
getting ready to say something ugly? Don't.
Yes.
You getting ready to limit me? Don't. Oh. See, what we're looking for is the reason to not attack.
Right.
That's what we want to hear. Why shouldn't I attack? Well, the book just told me. Well, it's going to keep you from experiencing any kind of fulfillment and happiness and joy and abundance. That's why you should stop, Raj.
Yes.
See, the ego wants to put it about the other person. Oh, now you're supposed to tell me about how I'm supposed to overlook what the other person did. No, that's not going to be your motivation
Yes.
to let go of your attack, because when you think about them, that's what makes you want to attack. So if I'm trying to move you away from attack thoughts, I'm going to move you away from this person or this situation that you're focusing in on, and I'm going to try to teach you the benefits of you choosing to let it go. That's what I'm going to focus on. How you don't want it to block your prosperity and abundance. Oh, you mean holding this blocks my prosperity and abundance? Then how should I see them? See them as innocent, and it doesn't mean you have to believe it. And you could even go a step further, and you could say to that person silently, I give them to the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
I give you to God. I'm going to let the universe handle you.
Yep.
I'm going to give you to that which created you. I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to focus on allowing myself to keep the peace that will call to me the abundance, the fun, and the joy and the excitement that I want to experience in my life right now. That's what I'm going to concentrate on rather than you. That's a decision. See, that's the trip when I start to realize that's a friggin' decision. I got to just decide when I feel that temptation to attack, that feeling inside of me, that twinge that comes up before I say something or do something. I've got to start to use that as a warning to be quiet, Purdy. So I'm trying to use it always now as a warning to be quiet, Purdy. You feeling the temptation to attack coming up? Shut up and breathe. Shut up and breathe. Shut up and breathe. And if it's too great, get up and leave. Shut up and breathe. Get up and leave. Shut up and breathe. Get up and leave. Shut up and breathe. Get up and leave. You can't shut up and breathe. Get up and leave. You can't shut up and breathe. Get up and leave. Get up and leave.
Yep.
Get up and leave. That's what I heard. Yes.
I was concerned for a minute that that if I was giving peace back to someone that wasn't being kind, that it would just encourage them to continue to not be kind. But I don't have to necessarily. When you said get up and leave, you know, that's peace as opposed to trying to fix the other person or gentle them in some way.
Yeah. What's more important than the behavior is the purpose. If you say, I want peace in this situation, and you can get a minute to go, I want peace in this situation, no matter what's coming up, that moment or that second that you take to ask that, the best direction to go will probably reveal itself. Yeah. And in some cases, it might be to say, get back!
That's right.
And in some cases, it might be, I see what you're saying. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You can't prescribe behavior.
Yeah.
There is no one behavior that is appropriate for every situation that comes up in your life.
Yeah.
The situation will determine that. What should be consistent is your desire for peace.
Yes.
That's where the consistency comes in. This is coming up between me and so-and-so. I have the desire for peace. And what would be the most appropriate thing for me to do, Holy Spirit, to have peace in this particular moment? Might be get up and leave, might be scream and shout.
Yeah.
But if it's coming from spirit, no matter what your expression is, you won't feel guilty about it. Yes.
I get the part about how peace is a non-zero sum game. I don't lose any peace if I extend it to you. It grows. The part that I'm having trouble with is can we still extend peace if we still have a remnant of ego-based thinking that we're working on?
Yes.
While the rest
Yes.
is extended.
Yes. Sometimes people have experienced a lot of peace around you when you yourself were feeling a lot of turmoil. They didn't even know it. And they were saying stuff like, it really feels good to be around you, and you going like, I feel like crap. and they'd be like, I can't wait till the next time. You go, were you with the same person? You know what I'm saying? And so the Course says that when it happens, that lets you know that there's a part of you that's capable of experiencing peace that you are not allowing yourself to feel.
Feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that something? In other words, I'm a means to bring happiness to somebody else, but I'm not in touch with the happiness I bring.
Oh, wow.
So I need to get in touch with my own happiness.
All right.
You know why? Because I'm judging myself. They are probably not.
Yeah.
So they're experiencing that part of me that's not being judged. So they're feeling good. I'm judging me. So I'm going like, what are you talking about?
Oh, wow.
Because I'm listening to what? My own mind talk. That's the ego. Ego is just another word for mind talk. My mind talk. You're not enough. This is what's wrong. Why can I be happy? Nothing goes right for me. At some point you realize that's just you telling yourself to say that back to you.
Yes.
That's you telling your own mind to say that back to you. I'm not enough. You're not enough. Things don't go right for me. Things don't go right for me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. We're just listening to what we're telling ourselves. That's all. That's it. And so the Course is saying, let me show you how to listen to another voice in you that is saying the things to you that will empower you and bring joy to you. You got a choice.
I realize when you're saying this that I've had a comfort zone of chaos.
The comfort zone of chaos. That's your book title.
And I step
Yes,
out of
I love
it
that.
into peace, and I can hang in peace for just so long, and then have to run back where I have lived for so long
Yep.
in the crazy.
The
And
mhm.
I'm starting to create a new circle. That
Mhm.
the comfort zone is peace, but it's been a process.
Oh, yeah.
There's the
Talking
Course in
about,
Miracles
yeah.
says that's that period of acute conflict is coming because you are having a reawakening of your spiritual sight.
Yes.
And he says when you have a reawakening of your spiritual sight, then you're not able to tolerate minor intrusions of discomfort as well as you used to, because you know that you don't have to be going through that.
Yeah.
So it says, so for a while, he said, you'll be moving back and forth between looking at things the old way you used to look at it and looking at it with spiritual vision and truth, and going back and looking at it the way you used to look at it and seeing it like a true student would look at it, then seeing it the way he says, and then you experience acute conflict from going back and forth, but that's not going to be the outcome. The ultimate outcome is, because it's such a different feeling between feeling good and feeling bad, you're going to choose to feel good. The good's going to win out. The feeling of fulfillment is going to, especially when you can see acutely. Now, people who are sad and unhappy and miserable all the time, they're not experiencing contrast. So they get used to it. And they just begin to think that that's what the way life is, because they're not getting the contrast. It's just always kind of pitiful. It's just always kind of not okay. It's kind of always never really happy. So they get to the point they're used to it. But when a person begins to awaken, and they have those glimpses of what it feels like to feel joy, to feel powerful, to feel conscious, and you go back to that old victim feeling like nothing's going to ever work for you, you can't take it. Because you now know you don't have to feel that way.
That's awesome.
Why do you know you don't have to feel that way? Because you didn't. Even if it
Right.
was just for 5 minutes. You didn't. Like every time we laugh in here for any reason, it blows our ego out of the water.
Yay.
Because in that moment, you were happy, but nothing had changed in your physical reality. You still probably had the same bills that need to be paid. You still had the same mate that wants you to make you want to commit suicide. You still had the job that you need to go to in the morning, maybe. But you laughed. You laughed.
Yeah.
Right? So that means that your happiness has nothing to do with physical outer circumstances where you could not laugh about anything. It would be physically impossible if it was dependent on your outer changing for you to be happy, and you felt happy and nothing had changed in the outer.
Yep.
Hello? Happiness is a decision. It's a choice you make. It's not a circumstance that you create. It isn't. And as long as I think it is, happiness is going to elude me. Permanent happiness. Not that up and down happiness. All right. You ready? Yeah.
So I work in my job with people every day.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people that I'm finding a harder and harder time to deal with because they're always negative. So how do I employ this and protect myself yet interact with them?
You do any of the things that you heard me say today. Any of them. Where you realize that you got to decide that your peace is not dependent on how negative they are. You make the decision that you're not going to allow yourself to be moved. And if you do, see that that's just you being just like them. Now you a drag.
Yep.
Right? So really,
Yep.
you're not any different than them. When you're feeling negative about them, you're just like them.
Yep.
Yours is a little bit more self-righteous.
Yeah.
But it's honestly the exact same thing.
Yep,
They're
it
being
is.
negative, and if your ego is being negative and fearful about them, you're exactly like them. And then that's why they're around you, and you'll be wondering why. It's because you're not different. When you'll find that anything that's around you all the time, you're not different from. Anything that's around you all the time, you're not different from.
Things are getting better.
Anybody that's, right. So instead of, so what they would do for me was they would make me aware that I needed to ask myself for another way to look at it. So that I can let go of the feeling. Because what they're doing is reminding me of all the times I've been like them, and they also reminded me that I'm also miserable in some way too. And so if I was really happy and peaceful, they could not trigger me at all. So what they're really doing is getting me in touch with I have some things within myself that need to be healed. That's all. And so the minute I go, oh, you letting me know there's some things within myself that need to be healed, so then they serve their purpose. And then you find it begins to change, almost like magic. Because you did what only thing the Spirit was asking you to do. Take responsibility for how you were feeling. You see what I mean? So every time you own what you see as being something in your own mind, you decrease the need for that thing to keep presenting itself.
So instead of trying to avoid it, I should embrace it.
Yeah, if possible, it would be good to embrace it. And all embracing it really means is, you know what, I've done that too.
Yes.
That's all it means. Oh, they're not that different from me, and I thought they were. That's all it means. It don't mean to run up to them and embrace them. You know what I'm saying? Unless they want you to. But you see what I'm saying? It's like the once we understand that everything in our lives is happening for our benefit, and we would ask for the benefit out of it, and then heed what Spirit reveals, then there's no need to have the circumstance continue to come up.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to keep coming up if I get the lesson. So what I'm trying to do in my personal life is voluntarily do what I'm told. Like when I read it and it says, are you willing to let go of the little remnant of attack?
Yes.
So that it's blocking your peace, I go, yes. Are you willing to see what your brothers and sisters do as a call for love? Yes. Are you willing to say that everything you see, you're giving it all the meaning? Yes. See, that's the way I'm going through it. Pop, 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 pop. I'm not going, well, is that true? I don't know why that's true. And that's okay. I went through that for a long time.
Yeah.
Until I realized that the answer was right in front of me, but I didn't want to accept it. I kept acting like I was asking questions that the Course wasn't answering.
Right.
And then I began to understand it was answering everything I was asking, but it wasn't what I thought of. And since it wasn't what I thought of, then I was like, the answer was never there. Because you didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. That's a big one. Yeah, I saw another hand before I walked. Yes.
Well, this has always puzzled me. When you get up and leave to keep the peace, is that a way of turning the other cheek? Because I've always been.
Yeah, it's called, it's the other cheek.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You're really turning the other cheek.
Okay.
And walking right on. As a matter of fact, you're turning both cheeks.
Right, okay.
It's a two-cheek exit. That's even deeper than what Jesus was talking about. I'm not going to turn this cheek, this cheek, this cheek, and this cheek. And yeah. And who knows? That might solve the whole issue depending on who it is. You know? They might see your cheeks and then want to heal. They might go, I'm not giving this up. Wait a minute. Let's talk this out. I turn the other cheek. Don't lose your sense of humor. That's how we got here. Don't lose it. The Course says, hang on to it. Did that make sense? Yeah. It's always about the purpose that you're doing it for, more so than what you're doing. I'm gonna keep saying it. The content's more important than the form. So if I'm getting up and lead because I want us to have peace and not to fight, that's a more peaceful thing to do than to stay there and argue with you.
Oh, that's what
Right, that's what some people go, don't you leave, don't you leave till we work this out. Well, let's work this out when we're both more sane.
There you go.
Right now we're not sane, at least I'm not, you know. And since I believe in reincarnation, I'm really being tempted to take you out because I know you're going to come back. But since the people in the world don't believe in reincarnation, I might go to prison for the rest of my life. I'm going to leave.
Last week you said something that just hit me right in the third eye. You said some people feel betrayed when you won't obey them or something.
That's what betrayal is. You're not acting out my idea of how you should be and what you should be doing. You are betraying me. The whole thing of betrayal is
It's hysterical.
totally hysterical. I'm betraying you
Right.
because I'm not being the way you want me to be. So that's betrayal.
I got a betrayal
Yeah,
text.
and I tell you something else too. Even if a person said they're gonna keep their word and they're never gonna break their word and they're gonna always do it, it's like you still in your heart should love them past if they don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if I really love you, it's great you making all these promises, but for some reason you can't keep them. I still
Right.
love you.
Right.
It's different from, like I was looking at this very deep spiritual realization show called Grey's Anatomy. And this girl that told her boyfriend that she was a virgin because he wanted to marry a virgin because he was a virgin.
Right.
But she used to be a virgin, but she had one little brief period where she was unvirgined. Then she decided she was going to be a virgin again. So she was, and which is true, since the past is over,
It is.
she's a virgin, right?
right.
Because she's not doing that now.
Right.
Right, so, and they was all in love, and he had invited his mother to come meet her at the hospital, because he was in the hospital because he had got burned trying to save somebody. He was such a good guy. And so she didn't want to lie to him, so she admitted that she wasn't a virgin. No, she said she was a virgin, but she was back a virgin again. And he was through with her. That was it. Now she had been supportive, loving, by his bedside. He's burned up, all this stuff, right? One thing, right? She said that even though she was like totally, completely now, only for him, wasn't gonna do it till they got married. That's what I don't like about special love relationships.
Me neither.
That's what I don't like about them.
Me too.
Is that you can be with that person and you can support that person and you can be in that person's corner. You can do every birthday, every Christmas. You do one frigging thing.
Yep.
And then what? I can't believe I'm through forever. You know what I'm saying? As if they have always done things perfectly. It's like they've always kept their, think about that. It's like that's what the Course calls special love. It's a love that gives the illusion of being real, but it's like he says, it's like building a house on a bed of straw. It looks stable till you put some kind of pressure on it.
Yep.
And that's what most relationships are. They look strong until you do one little thing that either one don't like. And then all of a sudden it's like there was never any love there at all. So I want to go beyond that kind of love. That's what I'm working on in my personal life. And I have to be that way if I want to have it. I have to keep the peace that I want to give. I have to have the sanity I'm expecting everybody else to have. I got to give you the freedom I say I want.
Yep.
Woo! Woo! And so one good thing, you don't have a whole lot of work to do because there ain't too many people gonna have nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Yay.
So you're not overflowing with people that's in love with you. I'll tell you that right there. It doesn't go over big in the world. Because in the world, love is all about limitation, control, scripts, and bargains. And so if you say, I'm not going to play that game, you don't get a whole lot of takers. But you do get a whole lot of peace.
Yes.
And then out of that peace, what I'm seeing is that you start to call people to you who want the peace just like you do.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're not alone in that desire to be loving in an unconditional way that's really caring. But you have to go through that scary period where all the people that are not ready to love you that way can fall away. And the new people that can accept you as you are, they may not have completely started to arrive yet. And you're in that little no man's land called the borderland that you're doubting and sometimes wondering if you're doing the right thing. And you have to stay strong during that period because the cavalry is coming.
All
The
right.
people who want real love, they will show up.
Cool.
Yeah, but you got to stand that strong battle. You have to stay there. You got to really want it. You got to really want it yourself, right?
Yep.
So let's do the next paragraph. Thank you for asking questions. I eat questions like snacks. Like some people like potato chips. I like course questions. Same thing. Young me. And of course mine is like course questions light. It's gonna be light. All right. The Holy Spirit's purpose rests in peace within you. So that's the same as saying love's purpose rests in peace within you. Yet you're still unwilling to let love join you wholly. What are you talking about? Well, you jokers still oppose the will of God just by a little. And that little that you oppose the will of love is a limit you place upon all the love. Okay, let me get this straight. I am opposing love and peace just by a little, but that little is a limit that I'm placing on everything. I am limiting myself a little, but it really is me blocking myself completely. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but a little irritation disturbs your peace as much as a big irritation. In both situations, your peace is disturbed.
Yeah.
So a little irritation is no different from intense rage in terms of keeping you from feeling good. So he's saying the little limit you put on your peace is really keeping you from having all that peace, and the little limit you put on your freedom and your joy is keeping you from having all of it. And the only thing that you have to do is go into agreement with the will of God. Go into agreement with the will of love. Say, I also believe that it's okay for me to have peace and joy and happiness too. The universe wants me to experience abundance and joy. I want me to experience abundance and joy too. I'm going to go into agreement with the will of God. I'm going to go into agreement instead of opposing it by wanting to keep my desire to attack somebody so I can block my own joy. So in other words, when you say you're ready to truly be joyful, you have the whole universe supporting that. When you say you think you want to be upset and unhappy, you have to make yourself upset and unhappy on your own. The universe doesn't support unhappiness. You have to go out of your way to keep yourself unhappy. That's why you get so tired, because nobody's helping you. Think about it for a minute. I said it one more time. To be unhappy is going against the will of the universe. So the universe isn't helping you. You have to go out of your way to stay a miserable person. How do you do that? By never applying the truth to your own thinking. It's simple. I won't apply any truth to what's going on. I'm going to say that my happiness is coming from you. I'm going to say you're the one that determines how I feel. I'm going to say you're the one that makes me feel the way that I feel. So the truth is, I'm the one that's choosing to not let myself have the happiness. But I know I don't still feel that way, because you can't come to a class like this and study stuff like this and really want to be miserable. You also can't come to classes like this and stuff like this unless you've already made the decision to have the kind of relationships you've always dreamed of. You don't show up for something like this and really want to be miserable. Now, the part of you that wants to be miserable is wondering why you showed up. It's like, what the hell, like, what do you here? The boy is pretty outside. Go to that damn park and see if you can't make some more guilt. Go to the movie, you know what I'm saying? It's like, the part of me that doesn't want me to have any kind of joy is not going to be the part of me that brings me to a class. But it will be the part of me that's going to sleep, that's unconscious, don't like it, and wish I was doing something else. But that's not who I'm teaching. That's not who my classes are for. My classes are for you. It's not for your ego.
Yay!
It's not for the part of you that doesn't want to hear it, that's not turned on, that wishes it had to come. You know, it's like, classes are not for that part of you. I'm not interested in that part of you. I'm interested in the part of you that brought you here. That's the you that's going to make a difference in your life. Your ego.
My ego didn't like that, by the way.
That would be the perfect ego response. That's the perfect ego response. If you're doing this right, your ego won't like most of what you hear.
It's shrinking.
If you study the truth, you study the course, there's so much in this book that your ego don't like. That's why it's such a hard book to study. It's so difficult. The language alone is just so hard. So, God's will is one, not many. It has no opposition because there's nothing beside it. Would you still contain behind your little barrier and keep separate from your brother? What you would still contain behind your little barrier and keep separate from your brother seems mightier than the universe. You know why I read the course during my class? Because in most cases, that's the only time we hear it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you really be honest with yourself, probably the only time you hear it, is, unless you really are a person that studies it all the time, is when I say something about it in the class. And the reason why I like to do that is because There's nothing more powerful than reading the course and eliminating what you think of as the problems that you think you're going through. It's hard for people to believe that they can read themselves out of a problem.
Yeah.
This is a book that you can read yourself out of your problems.
Yes.
I've seen it hundreds of times, not just in my life, but in the life of people around me. But that's why the ego says it's the hardest book in the world to read, because it knows if you read this book, your fears and your pain will start to decrease and things will start to work out. You'll see synchronicities working in your life and things begin to take care of themselves that you've been trying to handle for ages that you haven't been able to handle. So that's why the ego doesn't want people to read the course, even people who are course students.
Yeah.
Because if you do, your ego is going to be gone. You're doing yourself in is going to be gone. Your hurts and pains are going to start to fade away. That's why the ego defends against actually reading the course. It'll read books about the course, which is helpful, and you'll listen to stuff. I've done it, but you'll find you do everything but actually get down, get somewhere, sit down, and do this. All this will you do. Get the peace that already lies. Just check yourself out and see if that's not true. Everything but that, right? That's because it works almost like magic. I've seen people in situations that they swore it was absolutely no solution. Every solution has been tried. And I said, this is what you do. For 90 days, wake up in the morning, even if you don't understand it, read at least one subtitle of the course and do the workbook lesson. See what happens within 90 days. And I've never seen anybody do it that did not have a change of mind or a change of the situation or both. Most cases, both. So take it from me. I don't care how much resistance you got to reading the course. If you can read the course, all this stuff that you're wondering about, I mean, really, and don't read it from the standpoint of I'm testing it. If this course really works, then I'm reading it, it really worked, and everything is like, no, it's not that. It's like, there's something my ego doesn't want me to hear, and I'm going to let myself hear it, even if I don't understand it, and I don't have to understand it. All the Spirit needs from me is a little bit of willingness. I need to do something to show I'm willing to have a change. And watch what happens. Watch what happens. You deserve that. You deserve an easy solution. You deserve to have something happen to you easily. Everything doesn't have to be a struggle. And you can have answers you didn't think of. Things could be done for you. I know that's a way out concept.
Yes.
What's the little wall?
Anger.
The little wall of hatred, the little wall of anger. He says that would hide the purpose of heaven and keep it from heaven. That has the purpose of love. So, do you want to thrust salvation, which is your peace, away from the giver of peace? Would you thrust peace away from the giver of peace? For such have you become. You're here to be the giver of peace, so you can't give away your peace. So peace can't really leave you, and peace can't really leave God. So don't be afraid of your desire to attack. Because no matter how much you want to attack, the peace in you can never be disturbed, and the peace in you can never be lost. So suppose I believe that. In other words, your desire to attack is not so strong that the will of God cannot overcome it. Peace is going to even actually flow across your anger and your desire to attack. And your peace cannot be withheld from you, and your peace is going to join you without a hindrance. That's your purpose. It can't be withheld from you. Okay, so how do I get rid of my belief that my anger can block my peace?
Wait, say it again.
How do I get rid of the belief that my anger can block my peace? By realizing that I have a peace that comes from God that's absolutely unshakable, and so no matter what I think about myself, it's not going to affect the peace that I really am. If your beliefs create your reality, and you tell yourself, no matter what I think and feel, I'm still going to know the peace that I am, then no matter how you feel, you're going to still know the peace that you are.
Good.
But to get to that point that you can say that, you have to first go, I got to keep my peace if I'm going to be able to give it to anybody else. My desire to attack is what's keeping me from knowing my peace. Even though I have the desire to attack, my real peace is so strong that even my desire to attack can't affect it. That's the process. I'll do it again. First, I gotta realize that I gotta keep my peace and joy if I want to get it. Then I remember that the only reason why I don't know my peace and joy right now is that some part of me that has some grievance and anger and it wants to attack. Then I tell myself that even if I do have a desire to attack and I feel angry, it is not more powerful than the peace of God. It is not more powerful than the peace of God. Even my anger isn't more powerful than the peace of God. That's the process of how you keep your peace in any situation.
Is that the same as reminding yourself that you're innocent?
That's the shortcut.
Okay.
It's just as effective.
Okay.
I'm gonna remind but I would suggest only using truth statements that you get some juice from.
Yeah.
Do not
Yeah.
use truth statements that you don't get any kind of emotional charge.
Right.
If you get to the point that you go, I'm creating that, I know I'm creating that, and you can just say that just like that, but you know you're not feeling no kind of emotion behind it, you need to choose something else. You need to start telling yourself, I give everything I see all the meaning it has for me. Or I see only the past. You know, don't say a truth that doesn't excite you is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because your ego will get to the point that it can just spout off truth almost like talking points.
Right,
Oh, I
right.
made that happen. Oh, I'm just, what I see in you is what I see in myself. But you don't have no juice behind that whatsoever.
Right.
Then, you know, it's not about saying that anymore. You know, it's like, what is the favorite thing to tell you? Just like, I love to tell myself right now, oh, this is just a trick to try to make me think I can't have the happiness that God wants me to have.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is what's happening right now. This is just a trick to make me think that I can't have the abundance that God wants me to have. This is right now I'm getting the juice out of calling this a trick. This happening right now. This is just a trick to make me think that the truth isn't true. That the truth doesn't work in my life. You know, if I say it's a call for love and I get tired of saying it's a call for love, then I'll say it's a call for help. This is a deep call for help. Don't say truths that don't give you any kind of juice. At that point, your ego has adopted that truth.
Yeah.
And it knows how to say the truth while you still keep the same action and expression. And you don't want to fall for that. Look for the juicy truth. Look for the juicy truth. Look for the truth that when you say it, you go, wow, okay, I really want to do that right now. You know, I really would like today, you know, man, spirit am I. Spirit am I. A holy son of God. Free of all limits. Free of all limits, 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 free of all limits. Safe and healed and whole. I'm safe and healed and whole.
Yes.
I'm safe, I'm healed, I'm whole. I'm safe, I'm healed, I'm whole. Free to forgive, free to forgive, free to forgive. I'm free to forgive, I'm free to forgive. Then the Course says, well, forgiveness is correct perception.
Yes.
So that I could say, free to perceive correctly, free to perceive correctly. See, that's got more juice than saying free to believe. Free to forgive, free to perceive correctly. See, that's juice. You know, free to save the world. The Course in Miracles says the world is a false perception.
Right.
So I would say free to save the false perception, free to go beyond the false perception. That has more juice than saying free to save the world, free to go beyond my false perception. Notice I'm being proactive in my own awakening. Because that's why I got the alarm set that every hour it goes off, and I try to spend 5 minutes focusing in on the lesson like it told me to do. And ever since I started to do that, I've watched everything in my outer world start to shift and change and go into transition, and people move out and people move in, and changes in the classes and changes in my workshops and change. Everything in my external experience now is in 10 times more flux since I started doing the workbook lesson with 10 times more commitment and dedication. Because my reality is trying to adjust itself to the new level of consciousness that I'm attaining.
Isn't that frightening?
Yeah, when you don't know what's going on. So because fear is really coming from the unknown, right? So if I'm aware that I'm going to go through that kind of disorientation and transitional feelings and emotions, then when it happens, it won't freak me out. It'll freak me out. And what the Course does is it tells you all the different mental, emotional stages that you're going to go through in the transformation to your awakening. So that when something happens, you won't be freaking out because you say, oh, that's right, Jesus told me in the Course in Miracles that when I let go of this belief system, I was going to have this period that my ego was going to carry, blah, 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 blah. And so you realize that what's going on is actually part of what you were told was going to happen if you get sincere about changing so that you won't freak out. But to say you're changing your mind and you don't see any kind of changes in your physical experience or any changes in your perception of your physical experience is your way of knowing that you're talking about changing your mind, but you haven't really changed your mind yet. if you're in a period right now that it looks like everything is in transition and change and it doesn't look very stable because all these different variants are coming up that you've never seen before, you're changing your mind. You've been affected by something you've been reading and studying, and now you're making that mental shift that goes along with you really changing. So if nothing is changing, you haven't changed. And if everything is changing, you're changing in your perception, and that's how you can tell where you're at in the process. One person might be analyzing and thinking that's the same as accepting the truth, which it isn't, and they'll know it isn't because they still see basically the same experience they've been having all the time. And then there'll be other people that'll be doing the truth, and they'll be going, whoa, what the hell is going on? I've never seen such change and transition and people moving in and out and me feeling different than I've ever felt in my life. Yeah, your outer reality is trying to arrange itself in the form that would be most fulfilling and joyful to you based on the new thoughts that you are now giving yourself. Let it happen, let it happen, let it happen. Change means different. New means different. Let it be different. Let it be different. Okay, if you acknowledge yourself for hearing this much, you know, information about this thing here. And if it's only 2 or 3 nods, acknowledge yourself for 2 or 3 nods. That's good. That's good. You could be 10, you might be down to 2. We're moving in the right direction, all right? We're going to do the financial expression of appreciation right now. Thank you for sharing with me. Those of you on the internet, thank you for sharing with me. And if you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, you can do that on our website, www.earlpurdy.com. Let me give that to Doc. I'm available for one-on-one clarity sessions. You can go to my website for that, find out more about that, and personal coaching and tutoring of how to read the course. So those of you who've been putting it off, and you know you really like to get into it and get some tips about how to do it in the best way and the easiest way to get it, then I'm available for sessions that we get together on a one-on-one just to do just that. So you can take advantage of 30 years of obsession that I've had with the book. You don't have to take 30 years if you're willing to use somebody that's worked 30 years. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to learn how to bake a cake. And let it be trial and error over 8 or 9 cakes when somebody that knows how to bake a cake could show me right from the very beginning and I could get it done a lot faster. You don't have to take as long as I have. So you have help, you have support if you want it. And if you don't, that's okay. That's all right. That's what's so cool about being innocent and love of God no matter what.
Yep.
Is that no matter what you do or don't do, like he said today, okay, peace has got to come from me. I got to keep it if I want to have it. But what's stopping me? Well, my anger, my grievances, and my upset about everything. That's my little wall. That's what I've been using to keep me from recognizing. Okay, Holy Spirit, what do I do about that? First thing I want you to do, Earl, is to recognize that no matter how angry you are, no matter how many desires to attack you have, it is not stronger than the will of God for your peace and your joy. And who the real you is in peace and in joy, regardless of what you think, even if you're out of touch with it. Because remember what I said earlier about your being able to bring joy to someone and you see them being happy, but you're out of touch with it? That's what I'm saying now. Just because you are not aware of the part of you that's love and joy and peace and power doesn't mean that it's not doing its thing. It doesn't mean that other people are not seeing it and experiencing it, which means that even while you're upset, there's a part of you that's still loving anyway, right? And giving out love and giving out peace. And so that love and peace that part of you is giving out that you are not aware of, the result of that's going to come back to you too. So that's the beauty of it, that even if you don't even realize how loving you are, the part of you that is loving is loving. And so it's creating some cool stuff that's waiting for you when you're willing to stop putting yourself down and ready to really love you. So it's almost like you have a ton of treasures that are being built up that you don't even know about that's waiting for you when you decide that it's okay for you to receive them. And I'm telling you right now, it's okay for you to receive it. It's okay for you to have it, and it's waiting for you. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for coming out. So Tuesday night, we're going to do the Way of Mastery at 7 o'clock. And may the course be with you. I appreciate y'all.